Alright, welcome to episode 23 of A Minute with Mud. This one I am going to do on dreamers. Just kind of came to me yesterday. What topics, what do I talk about anyway? Because I'm done doing this. April Fool's will be my last day. So I wanted to start it off with Steve Jobs' quote that he did on his commercial for Apple in 1997. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them because they change things. They push the human race forward, and while some may see them as crazy ones, we see genius, because the ones who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And like I said, that was from Steve Jobs, 1997. And on this one, I did quickly jot out a few notes. Inventology is an audiobook that I had listened to that talked about people inventing things and making new things and how they did it and how it happens, and it's a really interesting read or listen. But they talked about the sippy cups. The guy who invented the sippy cups was an engineer, and he was tired of having his kids spill everything everywhere, so he figured out the suction situation and made his own sippy cups. So that's where the sippy cups came from. Also, post-it notes. The guy just wanted memories to be able to remember things, so he started doing the post-it notes, and we use those every day. We don't even know where most of these things come from, but their origins, the story of their origins, are actually quite fascinating. Fire alarms. The guy that was doing fire alarms was an accident. I can't remember how exactly that went, but like I said, if you do inventology, look into inventology. The main thing that got to me was the idea of serendipitous moments, when all of a sudden everything fits, all the pieces fit. And that's how the design of Planet Perfect Days happened most of the time. I would have a problem, and sometimes it took multiple years before I could actually solve that problem. I'm trying to think of an example. Well, the Good Hearts Army. I had goodheartsarmy.com at the time. It's changed to gharmy.us. But I was just hanging out with a bunch of people down by the river in Hood River, and thinking, Good Hearts Army, that might be cool to have just good-hearted people sharing their wisdom, sharing their gifts, living a life of passion, having an enjoyable moment, but helping other people out at the same time. So that's kind of one. One was the day I stepped on the Legos, when I got the let goes and the one-ups idea, and I took a bath that day, and that's when make it a game instead of a business, make it a game, changed the whole dynamics. And one day when I was speaking with my ex I was talking Planet Perfect Days, but I slipped and said, Project Perfect Days. Project Perfect Days was what I used to call it a lot. But it slipped, and I said Planet Perfect Days. And so it changed its name to Planet Perfect Days. A lot of the answers that did come to me were way beyond my scope of, I don't know what it was, the infinite knowledge or something that astonished me. I was like, oh my God, 3 websites in one, wow. Just a lot of different things like that, like I'm connecting the conscious consumers, life-affirming businesses, nonprofits, social shopping, information, those kind of things, and how it all evolved throughout these last 12 years. So yeah, inventology and the serendipitous moments, I related with that a lot. Another thing is Elon Musk, and how it took 10 years for Tesla to actually make a profit for the first time. So he put everything into it. I'm not quite sure if I agree with some of the batteries they used because of the deaths that the mining causes. But take the good with the bad, kind of got to crack a few eggs to make a cake kind of sort of situation. Peter Damascus, one of the head people in SpaceX, he was always fascinated with going to space, apparently, and since he was 9. And so one day he decided to challenge people by saying, I'll give $10 million to the first person who can launch a rocket into space without NASA's help or the government's help. So all these people were working on rockets in their garages and things. And then somebody actually did it. Somebody got it to go into space. And so it took him 6 years after that to raise the 10 million to give the person. So it kind of reminds me of kids, when kids are like, I'll give you $1 million if you do such and such. Kind of mentality. Vishen from Mind Valley. I mean, these are just off the top of my head. I'm sure I could come up with a whole bunch of others that have done amazing changes in the world, and all their beginning, middle, and endings with when they came up with the idea, all the struggles, and then the results from them. When most people think, oh wow, that guy became a millionaire, a billionaire, but it didn't start and end when they became a billionaire. It didn't happen in one day. It happened multiple years. But before Mind Valley, he came to America, and I think he was in New York, and he was barely making any money off of his internet marketing kind of thing. And he started a publishing house, but then he changed the name to Mind Valley. If you ever look into Mind Valley, they have awesome things going on. They have quests, they have new educations. They're really an amazing resource for the future story of us. But he also started Awesomeness Fest, where all these people, these big dreamers, they meet up every year, sometimes twice a year, and they go over what they've done or share speeches, like kind of a mastermind group. So those are a couple of those. Flow dialogue discussions. I would like to try to do one for Planet Perfect Days, possibly next month. And as far as numbers go, I like the word numbers, because numbers is, well, I don't like it, but the term numbers, you either have num or That's what I think about numbers. I used to be really good at math before my coma. Afterwards, not a really good strong suit of mine. I remember I did employment tests. If you finished these tests, if you scored really good on these tests, a lot of employers would hire you. And I remember thinking, oh, I did good on this one, but I failed most of it. So I was really taken back by how disconnected or uneducated I actually was or am, or I have no idea. I'm below average on a lot of things. So it's just part of it. But if you look at it, 1 divided by 0 always equals error or incomplete. Do that on your calculator. 1 divided by 0 is error or incomplete. So we're all 1. That just basically proves it mathematically. 2020 is hindsight and perfect vision. I came up with that one back in January, and I was telling people throughout all of last year, 2020, here we go. I didn't expect that this whole virus thing would be the reason why it would happen, but they've tried this before with the swine flu, the SAW virus, all these things, but now they have it a lot more locked down, so this is what we get to go through. Everything's closed till April 6th. Today's March 23rd, and the April 6th will just be a reevaluation, so chances of it being closed for a lot longer or more things shutting down is probably a possibility. And I approve of it because a lot of people are dying, and maybe they need to, but it's a sad situation when anyone dies. Just the other day, Yellowstone there was 222 earthquakes in February. So that's something we're ignoring. we're ignoring all these other things because of the corona stuff. So please pay attention to your family and others. Take care of other people too. But on the sense of dreamers, I mean, we're all dreaming. The Toltec kind of stuff is like we're the dream of the planet, and the planet's infected. It's kind of like being the sober person in the bar, kind of thing. We have our waking state and our sleeping state. Waking Life is a great movie on that, lucid dreaming. But 12 months is in a calendar year. And last year, I was shoveling snow for a day labor service, shoveling snow to raise my funds. And I remember my mom, like a second mother figure, my mom's cousin, she was always getting on me about when I was trying to make the $1 million to change the world right after my coma, like 24/7 working really hard, taking calls, trying to make this multi-million, billion-dollar deal so that I could help the world. Bank, gold, oil, bank, all those, just trying to be a middleman in between those. And a billionaire called me up and he spoke with me once and he was like, "You'll never do this." He had done talks at Harvard about it and everything too, so, and it was interesting. But she told me, you don't have to make $1 million to help people. All you have to do is help people shovel their driveways or something. And at the time I was like, yeah, but that's just a small effect. I want to create as much harmony as possible. I want to make a huge difference. And that was like 12 years ago. But that was last year when it happened. I was like, so I'm looking at 12 months in a year. So every 12 years, what you were dreaming at that time, it's possible, it's a theory, that every 12 years those things will start to happen. Because last year I really recognized the stuff that had happened the first year of my coma was starting to actually manifest just by themselves. So that was an interesting one. Last night I spoke with one of the residents where I live, and she had gone into a coma twice. And I asked her, did you remember anything? And, the way that she went into the coma is not really that important. But on the first one, she said when she woke up, she was spinning in the bed, and it was spinning, and all she saw was angels and demons, just angels and demons. She said that the demons scared her, and the angels made her feel at peace, and it was just like that. In the second coma, years and years later, she said she was about dead, and she remembers speaking with God and having a real conversation with God, or source, or divinity, or the universe, whatever you want to call it. And, and she said that she saw her family standing around her on the bed, and she's like, "I'm not ready to go, I don't want to go." And she said when she came back, she mentioned the gratitude, and I remember the gratitude. It's a gratitude that, it's like, thank you for giving me this opportunity, for letting me have this chance to be here on earth. And it faded after the years. I mean, I was like a sponge in the beginning. I soaked up all the energy around me, all the empath kind of stuff. And I've been learning how to deal with the boundaries and issues associated with that and the codependency and things. Because, everything's basically a survival mechanism. So yeah, that was an interesting conversation with her. Also, I watched a tarot video yesterday about Scorpio is my sun sign, and it talked a lot about you had a dream a long time ago, and it's about to land, it said, and I knew years ago I kind of had to put this on hold, and I was like, on 2020 is when it will happen. So the planets are aligning, this coronavirus, we need a new system, and so I've kind of dreamed this up, and I'm going to keep working on it. Whether it happens or not, I'm going to give it my efforts. But it had a lot to do with putting the person that I am now into the person that I was then together, and how it's really struggling, having a lot of friction. But I'm doing the best I can. So that's today's video. I'm still working on getting internet so that I can work a lot harder on things. And I just want to remind people that if you have a dream, if you have a passion, like I always asked a lot of people, what are you passionate about? What is your dream? What would you do if you had everything supplied for you and you didn't have to worry about money or a place or anything? What would you do? What would you be happy doing that you would do for free? And I heard a lot of stories from people. There's like cooking. The other guy, a few weeks ago when I asked him, he said knitting because of his mom. You remember that? Kind of ask yourself, what are you passionate about? What would you do if you didn't need money for it? Because I've had money, I've lost money, and every time I've had it, it's never fulfilled me. I've always kind of just thrown it away or got rid of it because my real passion is this Planet Perfect Days thing and helping as many people as possible, create as much harmony as possible. So that's where I'm at. But ask yourself, what would you really do? And hey, reach out to me, let me know, because if it's something that's life affirming, there's a place for you in the game of Planet Perfect Days. And I have slight regrets about not having the websites up or a way to start. I don't even have an email collector list because I just procrastinated. I wasn't ready, but now it's crunch time and I'm working on it. So peace, love, blessings. Take care of yourselves, take care of others. Try to stay healthy. Take this virus thing seriously. Even though, at first I thought, what are they trying to do? But it's actually a serious situation, and the whole vaccine, they've already had it. It's a method of control. So we've got to come together as us because they can't hurt us when we're all together. So my love.